So next we'll look at, so you have run the model, and the model ran successfully. Now, how to review the model outputs. So in this section, we'll go through, of a list of types of typical model outputs that you would look at after completing a model run. But this what you might look at is not limited to this list. You might want to look at different things, but this is just to give you a general idea about how to go about looking at your model outputs. So the first thing that generally you might want to look at is the log file, model log file. So let's I did run the model, and I have a completed model run. So I'll go through this to look at model outputs. And we did provide a package with loaded version file. So if you want to follow along or look at the model outputs, you can load those loaded version files. It would be by the name of the file would be something like this, with a suffix of _run, and that indicates that it's a loaded file, and the file size also would be pretty high. Okay, so first thing that you might want to look at is the log file. And one thing to note here is the log files, they can get overwritten when you close version file or when you restart a new run. So if you want to save your log file for any sort of documentation, it's a good idea to copy or rename the log file. So all the messages they get logged into this text file called messages.txt. And for this run, I had copy the log file into a separate rename the text file. And you can open this in any text editor. Let me simply open it in Notepad here, and all the messages are logged here. So starting from let's say these are messages from the auxiliary model, which are based on the gravity method, productions and attractions. All those summaries are logged here. And then as you keep going, if for every step, if any messages are generated, all of it would be logged here. And also, at the end of each iteration, the model computes the convergence criteria and other things such as link volume, RMSE, and other things. Those are also logged for different iterations. So all this information you can find in the log file. And for some reason, if the model errored out, you can come back here. The error messages also will be logged to this file. So for that is all the all the log for Visum processes. But DSIM has a separate log file. And if you want to look at DSIM log, let's say for some reason DSIM crashed because of some changes that you made, or anything like that, you can go to scenarios, base, output, DSIM, and then here you would see there are like 7 log files, which are the name of the file is run, and then date, and then I think that's time at which the log file was generated. And there are 7 log files here because the model is running 7 iterations. So for each iteration, a log file is generated by DSIM. And again, this has general information from DSIM, and if there were any errors, like those messages will also be logged to this file. You don't have to, look at log DSIM log file for a typical use of the model on a regular basis. But this is, just for your information, in case you want to check if there were any messages from DSIM, this is where you would find the DSIM log file. All right, so let's go back here. Now, that's the first thing that you might want to look at, the log file to see if there were any specific messages, or if you want to look at, convergence criteria or anything. But let's say once you are satisfied and the model ran successfully and everything looks good, you may start looking into the actual loaded version file to, look at model outputs at different levels, at link level, at node level, at zone level, and you might want to create some charts or create some summaries. So let's do that right now. So let me close this file first. I think we need not save this. And let me go to the model setup, which includes the loaded version file, and I'm going to open this loaded version file. And if you want to follow along, you can open this version file on your end. Okay, it just takes a few seconds to load. All right, so let me quickly close this messages tab because we don't need it right now. And let me also close these two windows. All right, so this is a loaded network, and you can look at different things here, but one of the most common things that people look at after a model run is usually, if um, there are certain bottlenecks in your network, and you might want to check the volume, or you know uh, the congested travel time, or things like that for those links. So for that, you might want to activate the link layer. And for now, let me close the zones so that we are able to see the links clearer. And maybe this looks like an interesting link, so let's look at this link. And you can simply click on the link and make sure that you're clicking in the right direction as per the arrow. It should be in the direction of the flow. And I think on this bridge, you have two separate links representing traffic in each direction. So, click on in the appropriate direction. And then once you click on it, you would see um, in the quick view window different attributes that you might be interested in. So there are things like number of lanes, and then capacity, and unloaded speed. But there are also calculated fields which are grayed out, things like volume, or you know the unloaded time, and congested time. So one thing to note here is the calculated fields that you're looking at here is from the last run assignment. And the way model has been set up, let me go to the procedure sequence here and quickly collapse all groups. You would see that we run assignment for each period one after the other. And the last period that we ran was evening period. So all the values in Visum calculated fields will be from the evening period. But we do store congested time and volume for all periods, as we go. So after we run the AM assignment, the volume from that period and congested time, all of that is stored in these user-defined variables such as AM congested time and midday congested time, and then you have volume AM, MD, PM, EV, and then also volume DA, which stands for the daily volume. And you can clearly see. Let me go back here. You can clearly see the difference in congested time on this particular link. The AM period generally is congested, looks like it, and then compared to an evening is the least congested. And in terms of volume, again, the total volume is close to 82,000, and then you can get volume by different for other periods as well. So this is how we would look at model outputs at a link level. But then you might want to check volumes not just for this link, but for all the links, and you might want to do more analysis across all the links. So the best way to do that is to again go to the links layer, and then you can open the links list. So click on list, and then you can click on links, and then that would give you the link list. Now here there are a lot of fields in this list, and you may not be interested in looking at all these fields, so it's a good idea to subset the lists. So in order to do that, you can click on the select attributes icon right here, and then once you click on that, it opens this attribute selection window. And then first thing that you can do is you can maybe remove all the fields that you do not need. So let's say we only want to look at volumes. So let's say I still need the from and to node type number, and maybe I need the unloaded speed as well. So you can click on this, and then there is a you can click on this arrow button to remove it from the selection. So if I do that, so that field got deselected. But there is a way to multi-select all the fields if you want to deselect multi fields at the same time. And the way to do that is you can click on the first field that you want to deselect, and then uh, press the shift key on your keyboard, and then while you hold the shift key, you can scroll down to the point where you want all the fields to be deselected. So let's say I want all the fields till VMT PM to be deselected. So you can click here, and then you can release the shift key. And now you can click on this arrow button here, and it would deselect all those fields at the same time. So this saves a lot of time and effort. And then once you have selected a certain number of fields that you are interested in, you can simply say OK, and then your list would show only those fields. And then you can uh, scroll through this list and look at specific links. And if you're interested in, let's say, let me close this and look at the network editor at the same time, you can do this. And then let's say if you want to, you see a certain link that you're interested in, you can click on that, and it would highlight the link for you on the map. And then you can also go through the values in the quick view window. All right, so let me see if I can So one thing that we forgot to do was, let me open this again, and let me quickly do this. I'm again deselecting this. You say, okay, now let's say if you like this layout, you know, and maybe these are the set of fields that you would want to look at again and again. So there is a way to, save this for future use. What you can do is you see the select list layout window. So what you can do is you can simply go there and type a name. You can say volume summary or anything like that, and then just press enter. Okay, so what that does is it saves the list layout file for the current setup that you're seeing right now. And where does it save it? Let's go here, and it saves it here in the you know your working directory, and then you can copy it over to your listings folder if you want. But let's say had you set the project directories, let's say, let me do this, edit project directories, set for all types, and then just say okay. And let me open the procedure sequence. And in the procedure sequence, um, there is this step number 12, which sets the paths to all the lists, filters, and graphics directory. So to make your life easier, you can quickly just run that step. So let me set all other steps inactive, so everything gets unchecked, and then only check this step, which is to set paths to all these folders. And then again, right click and say define as procedure to be executed next. And then I can um, just run that step by using the single step button. And if I do that, so it just ran that quickly. So now what you'll see is if you go back here, now this drop down is reading all the listing or the list layout settings from this folder right here. Let me go back here, and now you would see all the list layout settings here. All right. So you might have some of the pre-saved. So let's say I have one of the pre-saved list layouts here, which is link summary all. So I can click on that, and then what it is showing me is count versus volume for all the links where there is a non-zero count, right? So this is like one of the analysis that you always do, comparing link volumes with the uh, the observed counts on the links. So this is an easy way to do that. Now let me close this for now, and then open the list again. Now let's say we want to do another analysis where you want to group link volumes by counties and see, or maybe VMT by counties and see how much VMTs is being generated by county. So again, you can go to the attribute selection, and then I don't want most of these, so you can deselect the fields that you do not want, and I see the VMT fields are here, so I can click right here. And then let's say we keep the volume fields also for now, and then you can hit OK. But then let's say you want to group everything by county, but I don't see the county field here. So let me select the county field as well. So you can again go back to the attribute selection, and then let's look for county, and there is county field. Double click on that, and it gets selected. And then let me do one more thing. Let me just move it up. So, you can use these arrows to change the order in which these fields appear. I say okay. And then, what you can do is you can uh, right click on this column and you can say group column. So what it does is it would group all the numerical fields uh, based on the values. So the counties are named. There are 6 counties in NERPMAB modeling region. So all the VMT and volume, they get grouped by um, the county ID. And you can select the aggregate option, this aggregate function that you want to use for grouping. You can again right click on any of the non-group fields, and then you can select the appropriate aggregate function. So you can see for all the VMT and volume fields, that is summing them up. But let's say for speed and number of lanes, it is computing the average speed or the average number of lanes. So again, these are like some handy ways to do quick analysis on your model output. We talked about creating list layouts and all that. So now let's quickly look at how you can create some visuals. So that's another thing that we are usually interested in, looking at link flows. And in order to do that, let's go to links and then graphic parameters, and then you can go to bars here. All right, so there are already some bars are there by default. You can let's say if you want to look at uh, daily volume. So what you would do is you can say insert bar and then select here, and you can change the field. Let me search for the field volume TA, and then you can preview, and it is showing you bars here. But what is more interesting is to look at. Let me close that. We don't want to look at that right now. Okay. Well, what is more interesting is to look at a classified volume bar, right? So you can click on this and then go here. You can redefine classes. So let's say we want to have 6 classes, and then you can, if you don't want to decide the thresholds on your own, you can say equidistant or natural breaks or something, and it would select certain thresholds for you. You can say okay, and change the field here to volume DA, say okay, and then just preview. And depending on what classification you choose, it would show you that color scheme. So I think we didn't choose a very good color classification, and that's why you see uh, the colors are not looking that intuitive. But let's say if you want to look at some other fields, you can add more fields and look at a few other things that you might be interested in. Let's see if there are any other interesting ones here. We can start with volume capacity ratio. And then you can define classes here. Oops. Let me just create a few more classes so that Okay, so I think the way we chose our color scheme, all the anywhere where the volume capacity ratio is greater than 63 is all red, and that's why you see it like this. But we can, fix it quickly to, make it more intuitive. So instead of 63, let me say, let's make it maybe 95 or something. I don't know if it got updated. Let me make it 80 here, 85 here, and then 95, and then we can make this 60, 40. All right, I think that looks better. So, you can create these volume flow charts to quickly identify bottlenecks. So you can clearly see, that bridge seems to be a bottleneck where a lot of traffic goes through that link. And if you want to, you can adjust the legend as well. You can include link bars here and say preview, and then it would show you the legend and what those classification mean. To you can, and once you like the settings that you have selected, you can again just like list layout, you can type a name here and it would save the visual settings for you. But we also have some pre-saved visual GPA files. So if you just drop down that menu, you can load pre-selected settings. So let's say if you want to look at just link flows, auto link flows, and it would show you auto link flows. Or if you want to look at link flows for specific periods, you can do that as well. All right, so that was all about highway. Now you might be interested in some of the transit settings as well, or the transit outputs. So a similar flow chart can be created for transit as well, and you can again go to graphic parameters bars, and then you can select instead of volume PRT, you can select volume PUT, and that would display transit volumes. But instead of doing that right now, in the interest of time, let me quickly go and select a pre-saved transit flow setting file, and this is showing you, where all the transit trips are flowing on the network. But in case of transit, I think another thing that you might be interested in is the boardings on different lines. So for that, you can open the line list. So go on line layer, go to list, and then you can select lines. And then here, you'll find these user-defined attributes, which saves boardings for boardings by line for peak and off-peak period, and also for the whole day. So that is how you would look through various model outputs, and there's also, if you're interested in looking at zone level, how much demand is being generated from each zone or anything like that, you can go to the zone layer. So let me switch off the link layer here, and we can also switch on the connectors, and let's activate the connectors layer. So you can click on any of the connectors, and again using the attribute selection, you can, let's say we want to look at daily volume, you can select that, and then you can see what's the daily volume on each connector, and that gives you an idea about, if you made some changes to a specific zone, you can see, how the connector volumes got affected, or if which connector is getting the most volume and things like that. Okay, so let me go back to the PowerPoint here. So link volumes, impedance, and transit and all that we saw. Another thing that you might want to look at is trip tables. So trip tables are matrices, and in order to look at the trip tables, you can go here to the matrices tab and go to demand matrices, zone matrices, data matrices, and then you can go through. These are all different types of trip tables. And let's say we want to look at the DASIM, DS stands for DASIM SOE demand for the AM period. So to open that matrix, you can simply double click on that, and then it opens the entire trip table for you. And then if you want to look at specific things, you can look at that. Another good thing is, let me quickly do this, close the other tabs here. You can click on any of the cell, and it would graphically show you. Let me click off connectors as well, and it would graphically show you um, how, where exactly, the which direction, or which interchange, which zone pair it represents graphically. So if you see a very high value and you want to see, is it like something, is it two nearby zones, or is it like two very far off zones? So it's a very quite handy debugging tool when you're looking at model outputs. Another thing with matrices is that, let's say, instead of looking at individual matrices, you just want to somehow look at the sum of each matrix. You can right click on this window, and then you can say list, and it would, let me bring this here for now, and then it would give you the sum of all the matrices, including all the skim matrices. And sometimes, you might be interested in looking at how much is intrazonal demand. So, you can include the diagonal sum as well. So again, go to the attribute selection, and you can select diagonal sum. And, that way you can, for each trip table, you can know, what's the total demand and how much is the intrazonal demand, because that doesn't get assigned to the network. All right, let's go back to the PowerPoint. Now, beside trip tables, there are DASIM outputs. So let me go back here. So all the DASIM outputs are in the scenario directory. Go to scenario, go to base 2015, output, DASIM, and that is where you would find all the DASIM outputs. So we did look at the DASIM log files, but below the log files are .tsv files, and these are the main inputs from DASIM: a household file, a person file, tour file, and a trip file. And if you want to do any analysis on DASIM outputs, you would read in these 4 files, and then you can analyze it in much detail. So those are, that is where you would find DASIM outputs. And there is also, there are DASIM reports that get created by the DASIM reporting tool. And these you would find, in the same directory, in the DASIM output DASIM directory. If you go to the reporting directory, and there you would find 2 folders by the name R summary and R summary with children. So both of these folders have similar summaries. Only differences, R summary with children includes children under 5 years of age in the summaries, and these set of summaries do not include children. And if you come here, there are a bunch of Excel files for different models. For the day pattern model, you have for tour mode and work location, school location, tour destination, and so on. So let's quickly open the work location spreadsheet here. And if you open that, it has summaries like trip length frequency distribution, and then county flows, and it has both survey and the model output summaries. So it's very easy to compare. And there is also a calibration tab, and it is supposed to compute adjustment factors if you want to calibrate your model. So if you are interested in, or if you want to calibrate the model for any reason, this is where you would come and look at adjustment factors. So that's all about ASIM reports. Another thing that you might want to look at is highway validation. So, we did some level of highway validation using the version file, but NERPMAB also has an inbuilt highway validation procedure where it creates various highway validation, typical highway validation summaries that you might want to look at, and all that is put together in a standalone HTML report. So uh, that HTML report is generated here again. Let's go to the scenarios directory, go to the base 2015, and then outputs, and then you see another subdirectory by the name HTML, and then open that, and there you would see an HTML file by the name highway validation report. So you can double click on that, and it would open this dashboard, and you can navigate through this to look at various highway validation summaries. So there are count versus volume summaries by facility type, and then you can also, it is tabbed by geography by different counties. So you can click at different counties to look at those summaries by those counties. There is area type summary, there is root mean square error at the regional level, and then there is also a scatter plot, link versus volume, and then there are also screen line summaries. So again, this is a very useful tool if you quickly want to see how the highway validation is looking. You can uh, quickly open this HTML report and look at all these summaries. All right, so let's keep going, and this is something unique to Visum, that there is a possibility to view ABM outputs in your version file itself, and that this will work only if you have the ABM add-on on your license, and the agency definitely has the ABM add-on. So just for the benefit of agency staff, you can all the ABM outputs can be imported into the Visum version file, and then you can quickly look through how those trips look like. So let's maybe let me quickly show this. Let's go back here. I don't need this. And we can close this version file for now. And just give it a few seconds to open. It's taking longer because it has this version file has all the ABM data in it. So let me, you know, load a layout file. So if you load that ABM layout file, it would, load this pre-saved layout. Now here, if there are tours and trips that got imported. So if you click on any of the tours, the tour will get displayed graphically on the map, and then it would also display the trips that are part of those tours. So this is a very handy and useful tools, especially when you're debugging your ABM output, and if one of the tours um, you think like that there is a problem with that, and looking at it graphically can give you an idea about what's going on, and it makes the debugging process easier and more intuitive. So this was just to show you, but to access this feature you do need the ABM add-on. Let me close this for now. All right, so let's go back here.